Hello, what's going on, everyone? I'm John Hasselbauer, golf writer for thelines.com. It is Players Week, is my favorite week of the golf season, and I say that including the majors. This is definitely my favorite event of the year. I'm a little bit partial because I've been on the grounds at the Players. I have not been to every PGA Tour venue, unfortunately. But if there's one that I could pick that's on the PGA Tour schedule, majors non-inclusive, the Players is my favorite event of the year. So being able to play there, see the holes in person, and just every time the Players is on, I religiously focus on all four rounds every day. I've been fortunate enough to hit some outrights there with Justin Thomas recently in 2021. It's just a lot of good juju going on at the Players Championship. Strength of field wise this year, definitely a step back from what we're used to seeing. I say this at all of the signature events on the PGA Tour in 2024, but the disparity in talent has never been more palpable, unfortunately. You've got Jon Rahm is not here. Cam Smith, defending champion, is not here. Joaquin Niemann is playing some of the best golf in the world. He is not here. So there's definitely a talent gap where you cannot definitively call this the best field in golf anymore. You used to be able to say that because if you compared the Players to the Masters, you could say this is the 144 best official world golf ranked players and winners on the PGA Tour and major champions of recent years in a full field relative to the Masters, which is a lot of old past champions and world golf rankings of the top 70 or so players. So really you pick between the US Open, I would say, and the Players, and those are the two best, deepest fields you get every year. Unfortunately, I can't really say the same about the Players this year. Field of 144 and 50 of those guys you look at and you say that these guys just can't win this event. And that's just something that happens when you have a live golf tour of 54 players and probably 40 of them would be good enough to be in this field. So that's the depth that you're missing. Of course, with the whole live versus PGA Tour conversation, you get newcomers. So you get your Jake Knapps of the world. You get Nick Dunlap is a good story. You get a lot of stories, but you don't get a lot of like solid players who are stars, right? Stories over stars has kind of been the storyline of 2024. And then you have Scottie Scheffler, who comes off of a win at the Arnold Palmer Invitational last year. So we go from all of these no names to the best player in the world. And that's really, it's been all or nothing winner wise on the PGA Tour this year. So when you get the Players, when you get a signature event, a full field with all the best players in the world, it's usually a promise that you're going to get an eventful tournament. And there's no more theatrical event than the Players at TPC Sawgrass. Some of the most iconic holes you can think of on the PGA Tour here, of course, the 17th, the Island Green is the most popular one. You ask any casual sports fan if they know what that hole is. If you show a picture of the 17th at Sawgrass, they know it's Sawgrass. They know it's the Players. So maybe one of the most recognizable holes in all of golf. And just a venue that is so pleasing to the eye. It's manicured so well. It's in such immaculate shape. And it's an event that really anybody can win. That's always been the selling point to this course. What makes it such a masterpiece from Pete Dye is that you can overpower it. You have to be accurate off the tee. You have to take your medicine in some spots. It's going to force you to be a great approach player, but not just with your wedges. You need to be great with your long irons. It really tests you all throughout the bag. There's no specialists in any degree that this favors. It's really you have to be great in a lot of different areas to win here. But the areas you have to be great in are areas that any everyday player have, right? Like you don't have to be someone who hits at 320 to win here. You don't have to be the best short game player in the world. But if you are the best short game player in the world, you can gain an edge that way. If you're a Cam Smith and you're horrible off the tee, but you're great fairway to green, you can still win that way if you play to your strengths in every other part of your game. If you're Webb Simpson, you're sort of the opposite of that. You don't have distance, but you're elite fairway to green. It still worked for him. Matt Kuchar, same thing. Kind of winning this event with his short game. Think of a guy like Siwoo Kim, sort of a no name, but had some limited success before this, and then sort of put his name on the map with a win at TPC Sawgrass. So this event is sort of a star maker where it's going to test you, and it's definitely suited to players who are tested in the most difficult environments, have some sort of Ryder Cup, President's Cup experience, proven results in majors, battle tested, play in like high adrenaline, high stress situations, being able to calm the nerves. You're going to a course in TPC Sawgrass where if you miss slightly, you're in the water, and that's a 2-stroke penalty, and all of a sudden your lead is evaporating, just like that. So it's a really difficult place to protect a lead because it's so nervy, but it's also a really ideal place to chase because there are so many risk reward holes. So if you're down 5 strokes on the back nine, you can make that up by getting aggressive on the par 5s, the drivable par 4, some short par 3s. Like the scores are out there. But the blow up holes are out there too. And it's really just a testament of who can control the nerves. Last year, Scotty Scheffler, he asserted his will, his dominance on this course, and just brought it to its knees and won in a blowout, much like he did at last week's Arnold Palmer Invitational. Whenever the world number one is on their A game, they can do that. So it doesn't necessarily mean that Scotty's going to run away with it again. If he gains 4 or 5 strokes putting like he did last year, then yeah, he probably will win. But this is no like ideal course fit for Scotty Scheffler compared to anybody else in the field. So as you look at the board this week, and we'll pull that up in a second, it's not the type of week where I say I need exposure to one of the favorites. I did feel that way last week at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Unfortunately, I picked the wrong favorite. I picked Rory when I definitely should have picked Scotty Scheffler. This week, you can get creative with long shot outrights. You can pepper the middle of the board. You can take a favorite if you want to. It's really like, as long as you're not taking guys who are like 250 to 1 or longer, there's a lot of viable options this week of great ball strikers or specialists in certain areas that are very important. So with all that said, a long preamble to the Players, which again is my favorite event of the year. I'll share my screen here and pull up the tournament preview article, which is on thelines.com. This is the Players, which is the first really meaningful PGA Tour event of the year. I mean, some would say that the Genesis or the Farmers is where the season really starts. But for me, this is like the Players is the 5th major still, even if all the best players in the world aren't necessarily here. It's still my favorite event of the entire season. A really great event to bet. You're going to get a lot of props this week, a lot of specialty markets that I'll be dabbling in. Hole 1 market is something. You got the 17th, which is a really fun prop to bet. And last year, 3 times there was a hole in 1 on that hole. So like that's just one of the examples when you get these bigger events, the prop sheets open up. Just a fun time to bet. There's not really anything else going on right now. There's no football, trade deadline, sure. There's no baseball yet. Basketball is sort of like closing out, but still in the middle of the season. And March Madness is about to happen, but it's not here yet. So this I feel like is center stage. The sports world has its focus on the Players, and it's just a really great event to bet, as you'll see. Let's get into it. One last plug: make sure you do hit the Discord, because all of the bets that I talk about in this video, which will be going out on Tuesday, have been placed probably by last night on Monday or Tuesday morning. And you may not have the same odds value by the time this video posts as you would if you were in the Discord and saw it in real time. So can't stress that enough. Get in the Lines Discord, not just for bets as I place them, but also just a really great discourse on golf every week, talking about our bets, sweating the bets together. Love that Discord, and it is completely free. So going into the article itself, it is Players Week. You'll see all of my article research on Sawgrass, including some first-person testimonials for me on the grounds, and my player write-ups and all that good stuff. The course fits all of the stats that matter most. That's not what this video is for. But that article will be linked in this video. So if you do want to dive into all the need to know stats and all the trends and things that matter as you're looking for bets or DFS, player pools, anything of that nature, even for pools. That's another type of article that I'll be putting out this week. Is if you're in like an office pool and you want, want some insight on each tier, who should you be prioritizing? We'll have an article on that too. So love the players. So much to talk about. You kind of forget sometimes when you sweat golf every single week that not every week is exactly the same. For me, I'm putting the same units out every week, but it just feels different. It feels more important when it's the players week. So I'm so excited for this event. As we look at the board this week, finally, I think we should have seen separation like this before the Arnold Palmer Invitational, and I feel so stupid for betting Rory McIlroy instead of Scotty Scheffler at very similar odds. Last week you would have seen Scotty Scheffler at around 6.5, 7 to 1. Rory McIlroy was at 8.5, 9 to 1. Obviously both were past champions at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, playing okay. But Scheffler is just in so much better form. He is so clearly the best player in this field. And I think the odds, obviously they've regulated now to the action across the industry, but this is a very accurate portrayal of the tiers of golfers in the players right now. So you've got Scotty Scheffler, prohibitive favorite, returning champion, 5.5 to 1. Totally makes sense to me. Elite tee to green and might have figured something out with the putter. That's kind of scary, but he won last year. This is not a course that he's been dominant at. He doesn't have a top 40 outside of that win last year. And we've seen, almost nobody ever come back and repeat twice. It's so hard to play 4 good rounds of golf once, let alone 2 years in a row at TPC Sawgrass. So not somebody that I'm even thinking about betting this week. If you do, sure. Okay. Not a bad bet. I wouldn't talk you off of it in DFS. Definitely want to be there. But not somebody that I feel the need to back. It's such a volatile event, so much water, so much that can go wrong. So won't be on my cards. Rory McIlroy definitely won't be on my cards. He's going through a lot right now. A power player, that power doesn't really suit you at a course like this. Obviously, he has won here. So not to say he can't get it done, but he is in far worse form right now, especially with the irons than what we're used to seeing from Rory. I would argue if there's anything priced incorrectly about this, it's that Rory is just not playing like he's in a tier of his own. I think a lot of people would probably agree that they feel a little bit better about Justin Thomas or Victor Hovland's game right now than they do about Rory McIlroy's. Next, you have this sort of hodgepodge, which is really just the state of golf right now. There's nobody who's separated themselves besides Scotty Scheffler. When you look at Xander, Justin Thomas, Patrick Cantlay, Victor Hovland, Max Homa, Colin Morikawa, and Will Zalatoris, I would put them all in the same sort of tier of very good players who haven't really won anything recently. And so because of that, you're getting them in the 20s, even though a lot of them have very good course fits for TPC Sawgrass, are in decent form, but haven't really contended as much as you would want to see from any of these players. Flags for me when I talk about like a Xander or a Cantlay, predominantly not good in Florida. Bermuda, just not really Bermuda guys, not from this area. I know Xander recently did move to Florida, so maybe he's aware of that and trying to get more acclimated. Maybe like a sneaky contrarian guy who would surprise nobody if he finished top 5 at this event, sort of play. But not somebody I'm dying to bet. Justin Thomas is on my card. We'll get to that later. Patrick Cantlay, same reasons as Xander, just don't really see him winning this week. Victor Hovland, you get a good a buy low here for sure, because he was okay at the API, finished around top 30. Hasn't really contended like the elite player we know him to be, but the ball strike game has been there. It's just been a little bit of a struggle with a short game, which is, I guess, not to be unexpected from Victor Hovland. Max Homa has kind of been getting it all done with the putter recently. A little concerning what I'm seeing from the ball striking for him. So he's a bit of a fade for me this week. Same thing with Colin Morikawa. you want to bet him when the irons are trending, and they are definitely not trending right now. So he's a fade for me. Will Zalatoris has been great over the last few weeks. He seems to be finally fully healthy. You lose the distance advantage with a guy like him. Love him at the Masters. This could be his year. Distance, absolutely there. Afraid that Sawgrass kind of takes that away from him a little bit. And the putter is always a little bit of a concern, even if like the stats aren't really showing anything concerning. He's still Will Zalatoris with a putter. So I'm a little hesitant to be backing him this week, but could be a good contrarian play. Hideki Matsuyama, no thank you. Jordan Spieth, no thank you. The ball striking is still a little suspect, erratic. He's never really had it at this event. Ludwig, I like that. I like a 35 on Ludwig. I'm okay with that. He's an elite talent who even in his worst showings is still kind of finishing top 30. Debutant here that hasn't mattered so much at the Players. Maybe not an outright bet, but somebody I could definitely see playing well. Sam Burns I like this week. Shane Lowry is in great form. Someone to keep an eye on for sure. Wyndham Clark, one of the hottest players on the PGA Tour right now. It definitely seems like a misprice. Seeing him all the way in the 40s. Somebody won a signature event this year, one on Bermuda at Quill Hollow. Like Wyndham Clark quite a bit. And I think that's a really good number on him. And then it's just another hodgepodge. I would say once you've gotten to here, to Tom Hoagie and below, 66 to 1 on Tom Hoagie is just crazy. But once you get to this area, there's some things I like here. Just Sung Jae and Tom Kim at 90. That's very interesting. On FanDuel Sportsbook. So a reminder to always check the odds grid at the bottom of these articles every week on thelines.com to compare odds, not only nationwide, but in your own state. If you're somebody who lives in, let's say New York, you'll get a different view. It'll reset and it'll show contributing sportsbooks in that state and see how they differ. I'm in New Jersey, so I'm going to go off of New Jersey. It also has some of the widest range of sportsbooks to choose from, which I love about living here. So that's sort of the top of the board. My closing thoughts before we get into the model and the bets for me this week. Take some chances, bet some outrights. They are viable this week. It's sort of a fairway to green test here. It is demanding on several holes from a ball striking off the tee standpoint. But veterans who've seen this course a couple of times tend to play a little bit more conservative off the tee, lay up a little bit more, pull driver a little less, pick times to be aggressive, know where to miss, and need to be able to scramble with some regularity in order to win. But if you're not going to scramble regularly, then bogeys are out there. You just want to avoid the water. But if you're not going to get up and down for par on a couple tough holes, that's not going to kill you here. It's not a birdie fest. You're probably going to have a winning score around 13, 15, 16 under par in that sort of range. It's not a birdie fest, but there's birdies out there. There's definitely a lot of bogeys out there too. So now with all of that said, the background on the course, what we're kind of looking for: positional players, good iron players, strategic players, and reliable short game is definitely a plus at this event. Then we can go into my custom model on Bet the Number. Again, when we look at it in this view, which I'll give it 1 second to load, this is going to give you all the stats that I put into my model, their results over the last 5 or so weeks, as far as recent form, and then their results at TPC Sawgrass, as you can see over here. So again, I love this view because you also get the outright compared to DraftKings salary comparison, the model rank, and you can splice and dice the numbers here and put in whatever you want to get out of the model. So I'm a big fan of Bet the Number. I think it's made my research process a lot easier, a lot more seamless, and it's a lot of just good data in here. On like a per shot basis, going a step beyond the traditional like ShotLink sourcing. So big fan, can't recommend it enough. Shoot me DMs if you have questions about Bet the Number, absolutely, on Twitter. Happy to discuss that some more. But if we are looking at the model right now, You can see some emphasis on strokes gained approach. I put this filter to approach on comp positional courses. I then doubled down on that with comp course history. Strokes gained approach, sometimes I'll put different proximity buckets, but the great thing about TPC Sawgrass is it really just tests you all throughout the bag. So doesn't really do you any good to focus on any buckets in particular. You're going to need to hit all the shots. So weighted, like all around strokes gained approach is a good way to go here. I got tee to green as a recent form stat. Strokes gained around the green, still important. Putting important, and then some specialty stats. Bogey avoidance, putting on Bermuda. This is actually not just Bermuda, but it's overseeded Bermuda to capture the exact type of grass that we're using in TPC Sawgrass, which they changed recently as of 2019, I want to say. When it moved from May to March, it became more of an overseed. Dormant Bermuda because it hasn't fully hit spring where the sun and warm weather's hitting it. So that's made the putting look a little bit different. If you're looking at somebody who putted really well 6 years ago but hasn't recently, that's probably a reason why to look into further. And then a whole bunch of driving accuracy stats to kind of regulate for when you need to be conservative off the tee, who's accurate in hitting layups off the tee, who's choosing the layup, when it's smart to. All custom stats that you can get and bet the number. I've got greens in regulation, but they've also included greens or fringe in regulation. I do like that distinction because sometimes you just trickle off the green, but you're still putting. And if you're still putting from the fringe, it's basically a green in regulation. So I think that's more representative of good shots that we want to capture here. And then course history, very low in my model. Another secondary weight on off the tee comp courses and par 5 scoring. So with all of that, Sky Scheffler's number one. That's no surprise to see. We've got Xander Schauffele number 2. Keith Mitchell, surprise, definitely at number 3. You can get him at 90-1. So definitely jumping out here if you're looking at long shots. Not somebody that I think has necessarily the win equity. But 7,500, very good value on a very reliable ball striker. 3 straight top 20s, as you can see right here. And some pretty decent history. A top 13, made the cut for the last 5 years, even if this T77 is no good. Pretty reliable value play, I would say, at 7,500 from a DraftKings perspective. We have Justin Thomas, 2021 champ, at number 4. Corey Connors, interesting, number 5. Definitely a positional player, accurate ball striker, interesting for this course. Kyle Morikawa, number 6. Doug Ghim has great history at this event. He's 29th in course history, but he has a 6 here in 2022. This T29 is a little bit misleading because he was in contention and just completely fell down the leaderboard on Sunday, but he played very well that year. And Doug Ghim is actually playing some good golf right now. You can see T16, T8, and T12. You can get about 101. So that's actually a very interesting bet. Probably a popular DFS play this week, I would imagine. Austin Eckroat, even cheaper than Doug Ghim, coming off a win at the Cognizant Classic. A great ball striker, top 10 in tee to green and approach. So that's very interesting. Did just okay, a little below average to the field at the API, but not in poor form by any stretch of the imagination. Tom Hoge 9 and Hideki Matsuyama, number 10. As we go through my bets, going next down the board, I didn't star them, so I'll just kind of expand on them. Justin Thomas is the first guy I bet this week. I got him at 24-1. I would definitely endorse it at 22-1. I think longer than 20-1. I like JT. Here you can see what I really like these views when you click in. You can see what he's been up to recently. Where is he gaining? Approaches there. Tee to green has been great. He's been gaining strokes putting more than he hasn't been. That was a big issue for Justin Thomas this time last year. And he's the only player in this field to play this event at least 5 times and never miss the cut. So I'm not one to chase course history blindly at the players. But Justin Thomas to me is an exception where the guy just always shows up here. It suits his eye. He has the shots, great and skilled ball striker with touch around the green. So I just really like Justin Thomas's fit. He's a guy that I'm going to bet many times to win this event, and I don't feel bad about it. Victor Hovland, 25-1 is a fantastic number for Victor Hovland. I would argue he's a top 2 to 3 player on the PGA Tour and in this field. So it's just a great discount we're getting on him. The ball striking has been good, but not great. Recently, it's really the short game that's been bad, but we know he has the spike putting upside. You can see here, even in 2022, when he lost 3 strokes putting, he still finished top 10, and he's a good putter. So if he brings the same game he had tee to green wise that year, and he putts the way we know he can putt, he's got, tee to green, he's got this course figured out. I do expect to see a better result from Vic than what we've seen at the other courses so far this year. And I'm not too concerned about, his current form. So I think it's a great buy low spot for Vic. The next guy I bet on my card was Sam Burns going into Bay Hill, where he was top 10 leading into the final round. He had a streak of 4 straight top 10s. The results haven't quite been there at the Players, but he loves putting on these types of greens. He is Bermuda Burns for a reason, but these dormant overseas Bermuda greens, which are the same ones as Innisbrook, where he's been dominant. He just loves putting. He does not miss putts on these types of greens too often, and he's been very consistent ball striking wise. You can see even at the Waste Management, where he finished T3, just incredible ball striking, gained 9 strokes, tee to green, and putted well. So he's close. He hasn't won yet this year, but anytime we get to the Florida Swing, Sam Burns is a threat. 35-1 is a good number for someone who has that many top 10s recently. Those are the 3 guys I bet at the top. I'm not going to go through everybody else long shot wise. I bet quite a bit of long shots. I went top heavy, and then a bunch of guys at 100-1 or longer. So I'll just rattle those guys off. At 100-1 or longer, I'm also betting Keegan Bradley, Matthew Pavone, Eric Van Rooyen, and Nick Taylor. So these are all guys who have won recently, proven in difficult, high octane pressure moments that they can step up and hit the shots they need to hit. Playing well on comp courses, really good approach form recently. And when you look through the list of winners, it's really just a lot of approach and putting. And all these guys have really strong indicators of being able to spike with approach and putting. So for all those reasons, I think there's a long list of outright long shots that you can bet this week. I personally don't think there's too many guys beyond like 200-1 that are viable, but I think there's many guys in the 100 to 200 range that could conceivably win this tournament. So that is going to wrap it up for the Players Championship. I, once again, love this event. It's my favorite event of the year. I can't wait to watch it on Thursday. But until then, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, hit the thumbs up, comment, like, subscribe on the YouTube channel, follow the lines on Twitter, all that good stuff. And best of luck with your Players Championship bets.